Hello, my name is Jubinati and I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. Today I'm trying to help you to find the best qualified immigration representative for your need. The first question is that who is legally authorized to provide you with immigration advice or represent you at IRCC or any governmental organization in Canada. As per Immigration and Refugee Protection Act, there are three types of people who can do this for you. The first group is the lawyers who are registered at one of the provincial or territorial law societies. The second group are the immigration consultants who are registered in good standing at ICCRC, Immigration Consultants of Canada Regulatory Council. And the third group is the Quebec notaries who are registered in good standing at Chambre des Notaires du Québec. So I'm going to show you briefly how you can find if someone is registered in good standing in one of these organizations. For Immigration Consultants of Canada, the address is ICCRC-CRIC.ca, and when you enter into this address, I'm going to go here. When you enter, here you can find it says public register, find an immigration consultants. If you press that button, you will find the public register. You can find for someone, for example, I put my name. You can use search as last name or first name or even RCIC number. If you know the RCIC number of some immigration consultant, mine is 526, 521, or you know the company name. For example, mine is Mary Trusts, and then you can search, or you can choose by either of the other options to see the list, and you can find the immigration consultant. It is crucial that your consultant must have an active status. It means that that person is in good standing to represent you or to provide you with immigration advice. If the status is not active, you should be careful and do not retain such person. For law societies, there are 10 law society, provincial law societies, and 3 territorial law societies. So basically we cannot cover all of them here, but I just provide you with the LSO.ca, which is Law Society of Ontario. And you can see there is a website. You can go to the public resource or finding a lawyer or paralegal, which in this case for immigration advice and immigration representation, you should go for lawyers, not paralegals. And then the website for the Quebec notaries is cnq.org. And again, if you go down here, you can find Trouver un notaire. So basically here we can find a Quebec notary to provide you with immigration service. In all of these cases, you have to make sure that the person is in good standing. So what are the differences between these 3 categories? So here's the comparison chart. You can see that immigration lawyers, immigration consultants, and Quebec notaries, all of them can provide you with immigration advice. All of them can represent you against IRCC, and also all of them can represent you against other governmental organizations. All of them can attend and defend you against any one of the tribunals, but there is some limitations. The immigration consultants and Quebec notaries cannot represent you in the superior court, federal court, or even provincial courts. And the other difference is that usually the lawyers charge you much higher fees, and other than immigration consultants, which have a lower price range. So what happens if you choose an unauthorized immigration consultant or lawyer? So what will happen is probably, if IRCC will find out, your application will be refused. And also because unauthorized representative, they do not care about your application. It's very likely that they would misrepresent, they put false information in your application, and you would be the victim of this act. This probably could lead up to barring you from entering Canada up to 5 years, or applying for anything to IRCC for 5 years. And the last but not least is that, if there is any dispute between the client, you, and your unauthorized representative, you are not protected by the government of Canada or any of those regulatory bodies. So the consequence could be very, very catastrophic. I don't think it's a good idea that you go after unauthorized representative. So, what are the qualities of a good immigration representative? So the first thing is that your representative must have a good grasp of Immigration and Refugee Protection Act and regulations and the case laws, which, to be honest with you, it's not easy for you to measure and understand. We can ask some questions, but basically, and get some answers, but it's not easy for you to do that. But anyway, it's important for the consultant or lawyer to have the good grasp of knowledge. Second point is that your immigration consultant should be always available and within the reach. You shouldn't be blocked by the secretary or the employee or the agent. If there's an agent involved in this case, you shouldn't be blocked, and you should always have direct access to your consultant. Of course, being polite, friendly, and warm with the clients is very important, although it's not always easy, because most of the time, we work in a very stressful environment, and if someone is always nice and polite, then it shows some sign of professionalism. And also being trustworthy. Actually, no matter what, even if you have the best immigration representative, you must always be able to build a trust relationship. You must trust your consultant, and the consultant must trust you back. So it's a little bit of try and error. I suggest you contact different people, different immigration consultants or lawyers, and finally talk to them in person and see that you can trust better. Just before you sign any retainer agreement, there are some warning signs that you should be careful. If you see any of these signs, I suggest you back off. You stop continuing to work with that person and be very, very cautious. The first thing is that you cannot reach your immigration representative directly. You always have to send messages to a secretary or through a third party or an employee or an agent. This means that at some point you might lose your direct contact with that person, which is a very bad sign. The second is that you talk to the consultant or lawyer, and the person immediately provides you a solution in the air. To be honest with you, working on a case takes time. We have to get all the information from someone who wants to immigrate. We have to calculate different scores for different programs and spend quality time on a case to make sure that our recommendation is the best. So please take all these verbal solutions with a grain of salt, and it doesn't show any sign of professionalism from someone. And the third one is the success of your application is guaranteed. First of all, we are not allowed by law to provide any guarantee to any client. Usually the unauthorized representative will guarantee, which is illegal. They do it by either of these two ways. Either they would say that if your application is not successful, we return all or some of your money back, or they would say that we invoice you, we get the money, all or part of the money after some successful completion of the application. They call it contingency billing. It is illegal. It's a very bad sign if a representative tells you these things. Another warning sign is that you're promised about how long your application will take place. The application happens in the IRCC and it's beyond our control. So it's illegal to give any promise. We usually give approximate times based on the previous application as a guideline, but it's nothing fixed. The next warning sign is that the representative implies or states directly that they have special connections or they get some favors from immigration officials or have some sort of a special connection. This is not how it works. IRCC, Immigration, Refugee and Citizenship Canada, works independently. No one can affect the outcome of your application. Of course, if you provide a very good application, then you shouldn't be worried at all. But other than that, I mean, the favor system doesn't work with the government of Canada. Another warning sign is that you will be advised. Sometimes it's funny, but sometimes, I mean, these ghost consultants or ghost lawyers, they are kind of, open to you. They will tell you, say that, come to Canada and then claim as a refugee. While you know that you are not a refugee, but this is a very bad sign because, that person is advising you to do something illegal or to misrepresent. Or sometimes they say that, let's do this or let's do that to bypass immigration regulations. This is a very bad sign, and you should avoid working with these people. Sometimes they say that, let's go and get a fake job offer. This is one of the very common scams. Or fake IELTS certificate. These are the things that you should be very, very careful. If someone is going to advise these things to you, you should immediately back off. The next warning sign before signing a contract is that you don't get a retainer agreement. You don't get anything in return. Or your agreement, your contract is between you and a company, not the consultant himself or herself. Please keep in mind that the official, the government of Canada knows the immigration consultant, the immigration lawyer, the person. They don't recognize the company. So basically your retainer agreement or the contract must be signed between you and the person, not the company, and must be signed by both parties, not by the company. It's okay that the retainer agreement printed or drafted on a company letterhead, but it's more just like a cosmetic thing. It doesn't affect the legality of the retainer agreement. You don't get a signed copy of the retainer agreement. You must get a signed copy of retainer agreement by both parties, by you and the consultant or the lawyer, before you pay anything to that person. And the last part is you don't get payment instructions in written by letter or email. No verbal instruction is accepted, and it must come from the authorized representative himself or herself. You shouldn't get this sort of payment instructions from a third party, from an agent, from a secretary or employee. And then finally, after you started to work with your authorized representative and followed all the instructions, you should be careful about these things after starting your work. Before submission of your application to the IRCC, your consultant or your representative always fill a form. It's called IMM 5476. Your authorized representative will fill this form and will send it to you to sign it. It is important that you pay attention to this form. Make sure that I have a sample here. This is a use of representative form. In the lower left part you can see this is IMM 5476. It's a little bit old but still works. It's important in the question 6, it says about your representative must be always mentioned as compensated. as you can see in this example, it's my information and it says Immigration Consultants of Canada and my license number is mentioned here. It shouldn't be uncompensated, like the first three option is not acceptable. And then on the second page there is information of the company. Here you can see that there is a signature and date in blue ink. You must sign this section and give it back to the consultant, and they will sign the number 8, the question number 8. We will sign that part, and you should always get a copy of this use of rep form for your archive. The next thing is that never ever, no matter how much you trust your immigration consultant or lawyer, never ever fill any blank form, sign any blank form, blank papers, or if you see any information is wrong in the forms, please avoid signing that, because it could potentially lead to misrepresentation. And do not pay any fees to the middleman. You don't have any middleman or agents or third parties, especially if they advertise that they're going to provide you with a job offer. A genuine job offer shouldn't cost you anything. If someone is willing, a Canadian employer is willing to hire you, they will do that. They will even pay the expenses for interview, for travel, if you're supposed to pay for anything related to work, you should be extremely alarmed. And do not pay cash as much as possible. I know sometimes people pay cash because they don't have credit card or it's not working, but even if you pay cash for small amount, just make sure that you always get a receipt. For your application payments, for larger payments, always use the electronic transfer or checks or drafts or anything that could be traced, and always ask for the receipt after payment. Always ask for the invoice before the payment. All right, I hope that you follow all these instructions, and I really hope that you would be able to build a very healthy and mutually beneficial working relationship with your authorized immigration representative, and you'll have a very good experience in that. All the best. Take care.